You are listening to the Mohua Show, where it's all about celebrating the Junoon among changemakers and their journey.
When I was watching this film, which is Rajinikanth's film, and Rajinikanth is definitely not my inspiration.
What changes when drag steps outside the stage and into public spaces?
What I present as a person to my audience is my expression of gender. So it might sometimes be like this with orange hair, and it sometimes be like very cruel in its own nature, questioning or making you confused what gender is the person behind that particular mask. So I think that's how I withdrew the idea of, Stranimal drag. I want to define what exactly is drag to kind of start with, because even when, we kind of look at it in a very, westernized manner, like, DRAG, which means dress resembling a gender. So any person dressing up to represent their idea of a gender is called as drag. Now, if I take this concept or the skeleton of this concept and put with a magnifying glass across all the Indian states, even drag comes in its own way. Like, there are art forms which are having this concept where it is performed for men, only men. It's like a very sensualized and sexualized, like the Laundanach. But there are also the similar kind of an art form which are looked in a very spiritual manner, like that of a Theyyam or the Bhuta, a tag that it's from the LGBTQ plus community. The eyes kind of, raised. When I was performing in the Kachiguda railway station, there was a woman who kind of walked up to me saying that, I think my husband has, an HIV status, and how can we go and test? It's really important for me to kind of call out the spaces which I am coming from, especially the South India, which is right now booming in the film industry.
In a world where gender is often confined by labels, one artist paints outside the lines, using their body as canvas, faith as dialogue, and drag as defiance. Patruni Sastry, India's first Telugu drag queen, dancer, activist, and parent, has redefined what visibility can look like. From Big Boss Agni Pariksha to the Amazon Prime docu-series In Transit, Patruni's journey is a story of courage, creation, and conviction. So I'm extremely delighted to have Patruni here today with me, and really honored, Patruni, that you've taken out the time to come on the podcast. So let's just talk a little bit about the start. You began dancing at 6, trained in classical forms like Kuchipudi and Bharatnatyam. I mean, these dance forms take years to master. There's a riyaz, there is so much of hard work. So how did these traditional movements later merge into something as radical as drag, Patruni?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this particular podcast, and it was indeed such a wonderful opportunity. I've been following your work in Instagram and other social media, so thank you for having me. So to start with, my inclination towards drag or any kind of an art, including dance, started at the age of 5 when I was watching this film, which is a Rajinikanth's film, and Rajinikanth is definitely not my inspiration. And it was a film in which there's this Telugu heroine called as Ramya Krishna, and she's playing the vamp character. She's rejected by the hero, and what she does is she goes back to the home, screams out loud, and dances. So at the age of 5, when I saw this for the very first time, I realized that, if you are angry, you have to scream out loud and dance. And from there, I picked up this, kind of thing that, whenever my mom is not giving me a chocolate, or if my father is not agreeing to what I want to do, I used to scream out loud and dance, irrespective of whatever the places we are in. And that was the time my mom and dad realized that, there is a punk which is inside this young kid. So my father kind of pursued or pushed me to kind of go into a classical dance class. Or else he thought like I would turn out to be a Michael Jackson. And now I'm a mix of both. So they have to deal with that. But I think from there, at the age of 5, I started dancing. I started Bharatanatyam. I come from a tier 2 town, which is Kharagpur in West Bengal. And we don't have access to dance teachers there. So my father used to take me from my hometown to Kolkata on a regular intervals of every week, where I learned, Bharatanatyam for around 12 years. And somewhere or the other way, what I realize is like, though the dance has given me a language, so it gave me the vocabulary to kind of speak or present. Having said that, when I came back to Hyderabad, and this became my battlefield, where I started interacting with a lot of queer NGOs across, this particular space, I realized that, I have a vocabulary, but this is not something which is fitting into my audience, who are primarily from the LGBTQI plus community. And somewhere or the other way, there are no safe spaces in the city, and there has been there's no space where people can kind of come together and enjoy a certain kind of an art form, because even when I'm performing classical dance, it's always talking about a certain aspect of art which might not be relatable to the younger audience and the older audience at once. So that's the time I kind of came across this terminology called as drag. And I saw the first drag queen in Bangalore when I was visiting for a pride. And this queen is, wonderfully kind of dressed in a sari. And when I saw that, I realized that, oh, this would be so good if I would have it in the city as well. I didn't want to do it because I thought, like, it's a very expensive. You need to put a lot of money to sari, wigs, makeup, etc. I would teach somebody, and I can groom somebody to be a drag artist. Having said that, I couldn't get anyone, and people were like, if you can't do it yourself, you should not ask somebody else to do. So that was a turning point. In 2019, I started doing drag, being the first Telugu drag artist from Hyderabad. And even my first performances, we were not expecting a lot of people. Like, we only had 21 people, all our friends who will kind of turn up. But eventually, there was a 500 people who showed up for the event. And since then, I realized the power of this art, and how exactly it can, mold and become a vessel. So there's no looking back after that.
Amazing, amazing, It requires so much of courage. So tell me a little bit about, so what first drew you to Tranimal drag, form that rejects glamour for rawness and embraces imperfection as power, both so potent, if you ask me. So how did you embrace that?
Yeah, I think when I was looking into drag, at any time, because I'm coming from an art education in my school or in my, in my earlier dance learning, so I always have the similar kind of an approach to, picking up art form as well. So hence, I went through rigorous understanding of what drag is, or what are the forms of drag, what are the aspects of it. It was not just performing. It was more like putting my mind into, what is the intent, why I should be doing it, what is my privileges, what should I do and what should I not do. So those were some of the learnings which I was having, reading a lot. And that's the time when I realized there is this form of art within drag, which is called a Stranimal drag. And it was basically done by a photographer who was kind of vexed with seeing beautiful drag queens in, on a regular day and trying to shoot them. And one time they realized, can we make something out of it? So they dumped a trash can in front of a museum art gallery, and then they asked drag queens to kind of come and create a look, and ensuring that it's not glamorous, it's very trashy in its own nature. So from there, in Los Angeles, this style of drag was born, which is Stranimal drag. And when I realized it, it basically helps me in ensuring that I'm able to do drag, because it doesn't need expensive wigs. Makeup is also something which is extremely, the idea is to not create a beautiful idea. It's talking about disgust. It's talking about bibhatsa, which, if I could call it, from the Natya Shastra. So I think these are elements which can be kind of taken, and we make this so that we also work with the idea of gender binaries. So I'm here telling that, okay, a gender should not look in a very certain way, and there might be people who might be feeling multiple genders or multiple ideas of genders. So what I present as as a person to my audience is my expression of gender. So it might sometimes be like this with a orange hair, and it sometimes be like very cruel in its own nature, questioning or making you confused what gender is the person behind that particular mask. So I think that's how I drew the idea of Tranimal drag, and I started implementing it with the Indian aesthetic of a similar forms, like seeing Terakuttu or seeing Theyyam, which are again Indian art forms which disguise the idea of gender.
Yeah, yeah.
So I try to club both of them and kind of marry and create a work which I can kind of present it to the audience.
I've been for a Theyyam performance, in Kerala, and it was fascinating, to watch the way, the entire costume that's done requires so much of hard work, perseverance, art, love for the craft that, I came back saying that I need to go back again and again for me to even soak in a small part of Theyyam, So amazing, I mean, I'm always fascinated. But, while I'm saying this, there is a huge misunderstanding about drag in India, right? It's misunderstood as something that's very Western, or it's polluting our, so-called very pure culture, So what would you tell people who see it very, that it's very alien to the Indian, ethos and identity?
Yeah, I want to define what exactly is drag to kind of start with, because even when we kind of look at in a very westernized manner, like DRAG, which means dress resembling a gender. So any person dressing up to represent their idea of a gender is called as drag. Now, if I take this concept or the skeleton of this concept and put with a magnifying glass across all the Indian states, I'm sure that there would be at least one or even more than one art forms in Indian state which has this element of a man dressing up as woman dressing up as man, or creating very archaic figures of a particular identity. And if you kind of start from West Bengal, we have Jatra tradition. In Andhra, we have Pagati Vesham. We have Gotipua in Orissa. We have Laundanach in the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. If you go to the extreme, north, we have Tamasha theatre,
Yes.
and Terakut. So it goes on and on, and it's just an upper level of names which I'm kind of throwing here. Having said that, there is even drag comes in its own way. Like there are art forms which are having this concept where which is performed for men, only men. It's like a very sensualized and sexualized, like the Laundanach. But there are also the similar kind of an art form which are looked in a very spiritual manner, like that of a Theyyam or the Bhutakola, or even what we see in the major Ram Leela, where Sita is always performed by a man. So it also has aspects of theater. Like we talk about Bal Gandharva, who is again from the Tamasha theater, and they are somebody who is the father of female impersonation of India. So I think drag, for me, I think drag is something which is stolen from India and put it across to the West, made it stylized, and then came back to India, is what I believe. Because
I
even
do
the
believe
first
that, Patruni. I completely believe that. Agree with you there.
because I think the men performing as women started way back in the 1800 centuries, and you could see that starting from the Asian continent itself, and then going to the Western continent. Now, what exactly why drag has been prominent is because drag artists started going ahead and utilizing the art form to talk about the real time issues which were happening. And when an art form is very direct, very stringent on talking about the current politics of humans. It might be the Stonewall riots, or it might be the trans rights which are happening across, which were happening across in the West. So it became prominent because it became a symbol for resistance. There were, even men who were dressing up as, drag artists and walking on the street to give solidarity to trans women. So when this resistance happened, when artists are cognitive about their power of creating political art, or questioning back the status quo, it automatically draws a skepticism from the very institutions which run the society. It might be the capitalists, it might be the the people who are in the government, or a particular countries, particular centers, etc. So it automatically gets a focus of people who are running the society. And when that happens, what we kind of get reasonings for their point of view, like there's a reasoning, oh, this is a Western import, or oh, this is something which is always sexual. Whereas it's just a pedagogy, it's just, I would say, it's just the outerness of drag which is looked upon, but it's not seen as a way to kind of integrate with a lot of other things which we on a regular basis do. So I think that is one of the reasons why there's a lot of people saying that it's a Western import. It's not something which is in India, or even in the West, they're saying that you should not be performing in front of children because it's very sensual, and it is an adult art form, etc. But what I wanted to kind of look and ask the people to look is just an art form. Like there is music, there are multiple levels of music, styles of it, and some of them might not be appropriate for a certain age group, or for a certain some are coming from a different um, you know cultures in itself, but we still kind of embrace it. So this is also something like that. It's just a vast art form which is available, and we have just seen 1% of it in our country. So we need to kind of go ahead and propagate it so that we see more variety, and it will fit everyone's bill, is what I feel as an artist.
Amazing. So let's just talk about Indian audiences. So do you think that they will accept drag when you tell them that it's part of mythology or ritual, but the minute you present it to them as queer art, they're going to begin resisting the whole thing? Tell me a little bit about your feelings about this.
Yeah, I think I agree with you as well. Having said that, because I know the fact that once I say it's a queer art, or once I put a tag that it's from the LGBTQI plus community, the eyes kind of raise, and oftentimes when they seek a queer artist, when they kind of see because over there on stage, I'm the one who is commanding or taking their presence, and the audience are the one who are listening to me. And then there is a questioning of okay, why am I seeing a queer artist? Am I liking it? And if I'm liking it, what is my intentions behind it? So those are some of the questions which make a lot of people not look towards queer artist, or the tag always becomes a heavier price to kind of pay. Having said that, what I also started looking at is how can I ensure that drag, though it is from a community, um, you know can be accessible to people who are not from the community. And how can I make sure that there are conversations which are human in its own nature, like might not be specific to my own, community, or topics which I want to talk with the overall, community or society of people. And how do I kind of channelize that and present it as a very oblivious art form in front of people? So what I started doing is I don't usually kind of, if I'm performing in a new space, I never say that I'm performing a drag. So rather, what I would say is, I'm doing a dance with a wig. And this is just a costume. And then once they see it, once they experience, once they kind of hoot, that's when I go back and say, this is drag and you have to take it. So I kind of make that kind of, point of view when I'm performing drag. And eventually, what I have also seen is there is there are a lot of, cisgender heterosexual people who are tuning into drag than that of queer people. Like even today, when I'm performing in Hyderabad, half of my audience are filled with, majorly cis het men and then cis het women, because they see that, somewhere or the other way, I'm living a certain kind of an experience which they want to live as well. So,
Mhm.
and that is something which attracts a lot of audience. And I see drag as more of a, if I could use the buzzing word like an AI, you ask it to do anything, it can be done. Like drag is like that. It's just the niche is something which is present, but drag artists have been doing a large framework of work. It might be from speaking at, corporate gig, or performing in clubs, singing songs, and it's a very huge canvas. So it's just that there are ways how we can kind of take this art form not only from the club spaces, but to the common audience who can see and who can experience it. And that is slowly and steadily happening in the country as well.
Amazing. So, what's your take on standardization? How someone in a gown will be accepted as drag, but someone in a sari will probably not be allowed on stage. So how do you challenge these hierarchies? Within the community itself, which is like, it just baffles me that why should there be any difference? But there are. If you need to correct me on that. So tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, because we are also kind of looking back from, the performers I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Uh, we started using this word drag. Even I started using this word drag after 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And by then, there was already a huge publicity of the art form in the West. Like we have RuPaul's Drag Race, there were
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who were performing, etc. So some of the artists from India started picking up, or kind of using that form of art, that word, and kind of propagate and start doing performances in India. Like it might be Maya the drag queen and then Rani Kohinoor, who have been doing it on a very regular basis. So from there, this word kind of came back to Indian space. So still there is always this viewpoint of okay, drag supposed to be exaggerated, drag supposed to be something which is in a gown, It's supposed to look beautiful. So we are just carrying forward the regular standardization of the art form itself, and not changing the syllabus for our own people. So I think that is the first point of view. And secondly, as an artist, I don't see a difference between what I do as on the name of drag and what a Laundanach performer does or a Pagativation does. Because when I kind of looked in, it's exactly the same. I might be taking inspirations from a couple of folk art forms into my performance, but these are again inspired from an already existing art forms which are being a part of multiple communities. So here, what exactly happens is that because of my privilege or because of my access, I am able to kind of sell it in a far more better way, whereas that's not the reality of people who are performing either Theraputu, Laundanach, or Pagativation. So this is something where there is a lot of inequality which we kind of get in. As a drag artist, we are also tuned into the fact that my job is not only to kind of my job is only to perform in clubs and entertain the queer people who are kind of coming, majorly gay men who are kind of coming, and it should be something which would fit into their gaze. So when that kind of a conditioning happens, it makes the art very restrictive. And what we start doing is we start policing anything which is a little bit different from that, anything which is deviant from the core idea is seen as okay, this is not right or this is not correct. So that conditioning has to be broken, and it is being broken as well. I've seen a lot of Indian drag artists right now are decolonizing the concept of drag. Like they are picking up the aesthetic form of gender performances from India, and then trying to uh, you know create a juxtaposition of what drag as a pedagogy is, or as a form is, with the language of the communities which are served or which are being in India. So that creates a very wonderful, very unique performances. Like if I just compare 10-15 drag artists in India as of now today, each of them has something which is very different from each other. And that beauty of the experience which the audience would get when you see each drag art form or each form of these artists, that is huge. Like it's a very bigger, I would say, circle which we are trying to fill in the art space. So that happens because there's always this thought process. So right now, currently, the drag scene in India is actually kind of booming, with artists kind of coming from all lives across and creating very unique pedagogies.
Amazing. So, you've performed on streets, in literature festivals, and even corporate events. I mean, it's quite a very large canvas, and not just clubs. So, what changes, when drag steps outside the stage and into public spaces? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that is life changing for me, especially performing in public spaces. Uh, the reason why I started doing is to kind of agree the fact that Hyderabad didn't had a lot of queer nightlife scenes, or what we see as gay bars. We don't have it like this. The party scene was not there when I started doing drag. And
Mm-hmm.
also for spaces, if I had to go and ask for a space to either a cafe owner or a space which could provide me to perform, I have to sit down and explain to them what exactly is right, give them a free gender one-on-one, and then go ahead and perform. So, which was tedious task as an artist. And one of the things which changed was we got a project. I was working for an NGO as as a volunteer, and the NGO was called for a roundtable with the Telangana AIDS Control Society, and they were trying to ideate what are the ways we can kind of propagate this messaging across. So when they kind of reached out, when I got this kind of news, I was like, can we do drag in public? I would just dress up. Anyways, I'm a dancer. I would do dance, but I'll just dress up, come in public, and let me interact and we talk. So what exactly happened was they said yes. So we went to around 10 to 15 public spaces, which is includes railway stations, and parks which are there, like the public parks, metro stations, etc. And I just dress up and I kind of go there. So as and when I hit the street or go to the spot, nobody has to do any kind of an announcement. People automatically kind of come and make a circle.
How
And
beautiful.
that's the time when we start performing. And then I talk about HIV. So initially, when these volunteers were going by themselves, when they're seeing HIV, everybody is going off. But when I'm dressing up and I'm kind of taking the effort of going there and presenting, when I'm talking something, people are listening, they're understanding, they're
Mhm.
asking, kind of asking questions of, why did you wear this? So what are you, what do you identify as? So those conversations eventually made the audience to hold up. And this also projected the awareness about HIV and AIDS to not only people who are working in a very corporate environment, but to the wage workers and gig workers who are there out, who might not be knowing much of it. And there is still a lot of stigma. I still remember when I was performing in Kachiguda railway station, there was a woman who kind of walked up to me saying that, I think my husband has, an HIV status, and how can we go and test? So
Mhm.
that those are the kind of impacts which I was able to kind of create.
Wow.
And eventually what happened was this became this became a safe space for me, because whenever I'm kind of hitting into a public space, there are people kind of coming. Sometimes my relatives kind of show up in one or the other kind of flash mob which I do in the city, or my colleagues from my office, and or sometimes even there are younger kids who are curious. There are so many kids who kind of step in, who sometimes ask, what do you do? And that becomes a very small space for me to kind of educate them in a whatever manner I can, with age appropriation, that okay, this is something called as drag, this is how we become beautiful. You would get to know as and when you kind of grow and you get the access of it. So unless and until they see a queer person, unless and until they kind of get the access of knowing a queer person, how will the empathy, how will the connectivity of what exactly a queer person looks like would kind of happen? So I think that is what drag is doing when we are accessing the spaces. And I think if a music performer can perform in any place, I think the drag artist can do as well. It's just the equal
Absolutely.
kind of environment for everyone.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, and this is such a thought provoking thing that you just now said, and I completely agree with you. Let's talk a little bit about Indian films, non queer actors playing queer roles. So, while real drag artists rarely get cast, I mean, in these films, so what would authentic casting and storytelling really look like to you? And do you feel um, anger when you see that there's so much of talent out there, but they are not given space in mainstream cinema? Because I think if mainstream cinema brings them on, there will be larger acceptance in our country.
Yeah, I feel very raged, because I still remember, like, off late for the past 2 to 3 years, uh, I had this thought process of working in films, and then there were a couple of auditions which were given for queer roles, and then I always see these kind of end up being played by a cishet person or a straight person, and sometimes, although you're also kind of replaced by a straight woman who are performing, a trans role, etc. So as I think, and down south, it's even more worse. So I could, it's really important for me to kind of call out the spaces which I am coming from, like, especially the South India, which is right now booming in the film industry. But it's always a pain to kind of see a cisgender actor perform or essay an exaggerated trans role with
Mm,
transgender, people not given the space or not given the acknowledgement. And there are also a lot of misconceptions which have been
yeah.
propagated to films. Like, I have seen a couple of Telugu films over here where they kind of call, a person who has intersex ideas, or intersex genitalia, or intersex preferences on their as a part of their gender identity, being questioned as a mental disorder, or giving some other oblivious kinds of ideas about people who are trans. And always these are characters which are written, which portrays transgender people either as a mockery, or as just a concept to kind of look into. And majority of the times, there is neither a consultation or an effort being made. And the irony is, like, once the film is about to release, they all kind of get back to us asking us to promote their content, which is which is even more hurtful. Like, you have made something which is
Absolutely.
very bad, and then you ask us to go through that trauma, come and sit with you and go through the entire thing, and then praise you, which doesn't make any kind of a sense. So I think those that is how the reality is. And what I need to also tell is, there are, the reason why I kind of say trans people have to play trans characters is because we can't play any other characters, or there are no roles written for a trans person to play any other kind of a character, which is a cis man or cis woman. It's very rare. I can give you like one or two examples where a trans woman might have, done a cis woman's character. Having said that, there are more than 100 examples, if I could say, at trans women's characters done by cis people, which includes man and woman. So there is this inequality which basically makes us rage. And firstly, if it's a good, even if it's a good content, but if I don't see a trans woman who's on the screen, I would not be able to relate to. And we are also putting false expectations to the audience who might not be aware about how the holistic community, that okay, this is how trans people look like. And I think these are some of the things, nuances, which people need to kind of sit back and they should be discussing these as a part of their director rooms or writing rooms, to think about how they write a particular character. I can give a very small example where even the language which has been used in Telugu films, or especially in South Indian films, they kind of come very direct, which can be, a word can be picked from there. So there was this film which was just having a character. There's no trans people, there's no trans narrative at all. But there's this question which has been posed, like, sir, miru madam, like, sir, are you a madam? And this film kind of released, and then I see this same phrase being used across multiple trans, non-binary, queer people in the Telugu land, going ahead and putting it across the comments just to target them and troll them. So you see how a word which you might be putting it just as a casual way of addressing on a screen can turn into an abuse and trolls. Having said that, there are also good examples, like there are cognitively directors who are thinking not to use a very colloquial kind of word, but research and create a word which is very difficult to use. There's this film called as CareOfKancharapalem, where they wanted to call a certain person as impotent, and what they have used is a very non-traditional word which people can't even recollect. So the word will kind of go off and you don't even remember the word. So such kind of an analytic words putting and playing to define the character makes it more effective and inclusive than giving up very direct kind of words which might be used as tools. So I think films need to kind of rethink about how they are
Yeah.
putting across queer people. And I know that there are a lot of wonderful queer filmmakers who are taking the first steps to
Yes.
feel or create those narratives.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah, they are. I've had quite a few of them on my podcast, and it's been fantastic. So you've said that drag is your language of truth. And in your Amazon Prime docu series In Transit, that truth was captured through someone else's lens, a director, a crew, a camera. So how did it feel, to see your story being framed by others, and what parts of that truth felt most vulnerable to you? When did you feel really, really torn, from within?
Yeah, I think the timing of the shoot was something which was very specious in my life. So, and even the team which kind of came in, the director Aisha Sood, or the holistic production house, which is the Tiger Baby. So they come from such an awareness and such a comfort which they kind of created for us. It automatically made us just be a part of it. Like it's we never had a sense that we're talking to a camera. We just were living our own selves, just having a conversation, and we thought that film was made. It's not though easy, that easy, but it sounds like that was the magic which they have created, offset or on the space when we were recording. Um, it was also very kind of cognitive for me to accept this, because I thought I might not be able to do the series in the very first place, because I not only am somebody who is not represented on the holistic trans umbrella. Like we know trans umbrella comes as trans man and trans woman, and trans women take the majority of the part of visibility, whereas the non-binary people, and somebody who is navigating my non-binariness, like I present myself as a cisgender man when I'm not in performance. So this navigation, I thought, might be too much for the audience to kind of understand, or to kind of wrap up. I mean, that's the same timeline where there were a lot of conversation of transphobia happening in the West, and trying to creep up into Indian space as well, where they were like, okay, what is this non-binariness? All that kind of question. So at that point of time, and then I'm married to a cisgender woman and having we just announced that we were having a kid. So to put that on the frame as well was very thought provoking for us. We just thought, shall we do this or not? Having said that, once we are in, I think my partner was the one who was my core support, and it's she who led me to be who I am, and that's on a regular basis as well. And she was the one who was there with me and was like, let's talk about it. Let's, unless and until you tell your story out in public, or unless and until you express what you are as a true person, none of the other people would know. And do you really think you need that kind of an effort to tell it to everyone in the family, or in your colleagues, or anyone who might not be knowing you? Or this is a bigger medium, you just say it out loud once, and the people would be able to kind of get the message. So that was a very good idea, which I thought, and I started being a part of it. And I think one of the most when I saw the film, one of the most surreal moment for me was when I'm announcing my kid's journey. When we both, like, she was pregnant and I was there with her. My mom and dad kind of came, and my mom and dad shot for the for the film as well, without realizing what exactly they were kind of shooting. But uh, I think announcing or saying that, okay, we are moving through this phase of life, and that too, it's been ingrained in a camera or in a film, is I think the most surreal moment which I had. And I always kind of go back to the days when we were just starting with our
Yeah.
kid. So once my kid becomes 5 to 6 years of age, I will definitely ask them to kind of see the film and say that, okay, you are somewhere in your mother's tummy at that point in time.
Amazing, amazing. Amazing, Patruni. I mean, I'm like really inspired, So let's talk about your collaboration with Rubaru. You worked
Mhm.
on interfaith dialogues, with the youth in Hyderabad. So, what was the most moving conversation you've had while connecting with young queer people coming, to their faith, which isn't easy sometimes, it's a really difficult journey.
Yeah, I think faith has always been, everybody carries faith. It might be, even the, people who doesn't believe the idea of spirituality, or the atheist or the agnostics, they also carry faith, and that's a part of their life as well. So every human being is a faithful person to themselves. And what exactly happens is, like, when we are integrating the idea of faith with queerness, of with the overall, gender and sexuality, it makes it very easier for a lot of people to feel affirmed, feel
Yeah.
affirmed about their religion, feel affirmed about their sexuality and gender. So when I picked up this program by Rubaru, which is an NGO from Hyderabad, it's called as a International Youth Leadership Program,
Hmm.
and they teach certain kind of pedagogies to kind of work on as an activist, who's trying to navigate the perspective of faith. So as a part of that, I did a project which was called as Drag Me to Heaven, where I wanted to ask, more questions about how drag and faith kind of go hand in hand. And in these conversations, there are 45 people whom I spoke with. There are people who are, two spirited from the West, who navigate or do drag. There are people who do, who are trans persons who do drag you know, in, in Kerala, who go to these festivals like Gangama festivals, etc.
Hmm.
There are people who is in a war zone, who's trying to see a futuristic country of their own. There are people who are academias, like somebody who does drag and then go and teach in universities like Tough University. People who kind of, there's this Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. It's a group of people who are queer nuns. So I interviewed them as well. So these are individuals kind of talking about a Muslim drag artist, a person who is a Buddhist, somebody who's an atheist. So these are all the conversations which I kind of documented. And I still remember it was very tedious because it was just to be done in 1 month. And I was talking to every drag queen, sometimes at late at night, about their drag. And one thing I realized is, like, what they are doing as a human being to the society with their art is something which is extremely huge. And if I could at least do 1% of what they do, would kind of make me cherish my life. So I think it gave me the idea that drag is very powerful tool. It can be molded into multiple ways, and there's a purpose which drag can serve for every human being, is what I feel. And that acknowledgement was something which I was able to get with that program.
Can I just take the liberty of saying that, do you think that religion can really learn from queer people about coexistence? Do you think this is a very large statement to make, or do you really think that, and also the queer movement, I mean, can they learn from, religion about community? So tell me a little bit about this. It's a very tricky question, and you cannot answer if you don't want, but just asking you.
No, I think it's a very wonderful question and a wonderful point of view as well. And religion should definitely look into how queer communities, navigate a conflict or navigate. And that was the part of our program as well, to how do we kind of, as a queer individual, navigate the internal conflicts with religion and queerness.
Yeah.
And I think queerness is always there inside religion, and it's in every religion, if I could say.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, you know, uh, One can't create faith, one can't create art without a queer nerve, is what I feel. And queerness, though people like me are 100% queerly, because we are doing that kind of an effort. But if you're creating art, or if you're creating community, if you're instilling faith in a certain person, that is coming from that one nerve of queerness which everybody has. So I think the same thing happens within faith and religious spaces as well. And what we kind of realize is like, uh, we we fear the idea of re-looking into our own religion or faith and question it, because unless and until you don't question, you don't get the answers. And what drag or queerness does is, like, you question ourselves as a human being. Okay, what I am. And the same thing happens with religion as well. We question, okay, where are we placed into? And I think this, though this is queerness is something which is seen as in very against from all the religions across the world. But if they kind of turn the lens or turn the mirror towards themselves and say that, we are always been existing in their cultures, it makes it very easier for society to kind of build as well.
Yeah.
And this is one space where people from all religion, all faith backgrounds coexist. They come, even within our overall queer communities, we always see this happening, where we are living with a person who are of a different faith, or who are of a different belief in themselves. And this community is something which can be used as a model for a religion to kind of bring more people as well. So I think one of the best parts which I have seen in my drag journey is, people, when I perform drag, sometimes I kind of access religious spaces as well, like perform in front of a temple, or I was like this walking into a couple of religious spaces in my program as a part of the IYLP. So and I asked questions to all these leaders, the people who are from the religious background. Do you allow a queer person to come and step into the shrine or the temple, or to the spaces, so that we can kind of come just pray? And everybody said yes, because by the end of it, every religion teaches to love your neighbor, or love the person as you are.
Love,
So
compassion, and all of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that should be the same model of propagating as well. I think my religion is drag, because it makes me connect with my own soul as well as my spirituality. I think which is also something anybody can do. It's just that we need to really understand and question from which thought process, as a faithful being, we are kind of coming. And as and when we question, as and when we get the answers, please don't keep it for yourself, but tell it to other people as well.
Yeah, share it with everyone. Absolutely. So you've experienced firsthand, how global politics, even Trump era backlash, affected, the die spaces, right? So how do these shifts trickle down to queer professionals in India and today?
Yeah, I think since Trump has started or taken the office, one of the things which has happened is there has been a lot of enigma about gender non-conforming, transgender non-conforming, and other parts of the queer people within spaces. So there are, currently corporates are in a fidget of what should they do, because if they kind of doesn't acknowledge the good force of work which are from the LGBTQ community, they would use a huge chunk of good employees out of their particular bucket. And there are chances of policing scrutiny from the government, and it's not only US, it's across the world as well, which is the same thing which is happening with UK and other spaces as well. So it has to be a very kind of a balanced approach is what they are trying to do. But having said that, I think uh, setbacks like this, or people kind of taking such kind of a position and throwing hate towards a certain kind of a community would just empower the community even more. I think that we have become so strong that you can you say that okay, we don't want DEI, but we will kind of still come and perform in corporates, saying that we are talking about mental health, or we are talking about individualism. We are talking about leadership. We're talking about agile and AI as well. So I think drag artists are very smart enough. We would ensure that we get a kind of access to spaces to make sure that our communities are well sustained, well represented across as well. So this constant, even there's a lot of pushback. This constant thought of going ahead and doing something for the overall community is something which is driving people like me. Having said that, the current work which I'm kind of doing as a professional is not very much effective. Thank goodness to my companies, managers, etc., and the leadership over there, because they are taking the bigger punch in safeguarding us in one or the other way. Having said that, it's also important for queer people to kind of come together and work with each other. That's something which is like a model happening right now. A lot of people who are leaders, who are leaders in these, multinational companies, it's their owners to kind of, sneak peek and bring the DEI back, or do things which can affirm. DEI has just been a subject. So even if DEI dies, there's still people who are queer in offices whom they have to work, whom they have to rely on. So I think capitalism is integrated or kind of married with queerness in one or the other way, which they can't separate, or else it will fall off. So they don't have a choice. I think that is this thing which we also need to realize, that we should not be feared, or we should not have that thought process that, oh, we might not be having the similar kind of benefits or similar kind of support. Rather, we would still have it, because if companies has to earn, they are still relying on a techie like me who would be working after this podcast.
Oh, so amazing you are, Patruni. My God, I'm already in love. So let's talk a little bit about, like you spoke about corporations. Do you really think that, is it just mere hashtags, or they have a change in heart, and do they really understand inclusion? Because I have a huge problem. I mean, of course, there is awareness now, but there are no toilets,
Yeah.
across offices, across public spaces. And this is what really, really hassles me, that, it's just so customary somewhere, I feel, this whole,
Mhm.
hoo-ha that they do. And then after that, there's this small investment of creating a toilet. It's really not
Yeah.
so much, but it
Yeah.
never gets done. So I want to know, what do you think?
No, I agree with you as well. There's some of the times where corporates are getting inspired by drag queens as well to perform in a not nicer way, though. Especially when they kind of there's a lot of pink washing which happens across, especially at the time of Pride Month. You'll see every kind of company kind of changing. And even they work with artists like me. They kind of call to do. There were times where I've walked into multiple corporates like that, and the first thing I kind of enter, there's a security guard basically scanning me and asking me for an Aadhaar, and then looking at it is like, oh, you're a man, or go. So something like that, which is very common, which happens. And to change, there's no washroom. There are times where I have to use a woman's washroom, and every time somebody's kind of, they either lock the door so that nobody kind of uses that, or I have to fidget out one washroom which is not working or functioning, so that I
Mhm.
can go and change. So these are some of the aspects which have been there. And also with the policy levels, there are companies which talk about DEI, but they don't have even a single policy. The basic entry form has male and female. So, there is
There's
always
so
this.
much to be done.
Yeah, and there's a dualism for sure.
Mm.
Having said that, what I think is, uh, sometimes we as queer people who are working in these companies, firstly, you need to employ queer people. That's the first thing, and rest, the we can look out for inclusion. We can ensure that the things are kind of changing, one step at a time. But
Mm.
in order for a person to kind of speak or say that, okay, I want to work in a corporate space, or I want to access, so there need to be people who are there in that particular company, and that starts only when you hire a queer person. It might be for any kind of a level. And what things have changed is, like, at times where there's one visible queer person in a company can actually change the whole holistic approach to the company in itself. And I think that is the kind of onus which queer community has. Like, we ensure that things are kind of moving forward. I know I'm being built with resistance of a lot of trans women who have paved the ways for me to kind of come sit and talk or do whatever I'm kind of doing. So that resistance is something which has been carried out as an individual, and that gives a lot of power as well to kind of go back to senior leadership and say that, okay, you might have used this particular form, or this application is not having something which is very accessible or inclusive to people. Can you please change it? And they will listen as well. So I think this access is something which is the first gateway for individuals. Having said that, also the entire idea of calling out, sometimes we bash the cancel culture, we bash the calling out things, but those help to kind of check up and see whether somebody is just making empty promises. And it's very political as well. Like, even if you are voting for a certain kind of a person, if they are not delivering, we kind of go back and question, we protest. So that same
Absolutely.
thing need to happen in corporates as well, where you kind of question back, where you
Mhm.
ask or kind of give them a reality check. And I do that with all the corporates. When I'm performing at a space, there are problems which I feel which are very visible. I kind of write them down to them and say that, okay, these are something which you need to kind of fix, or else I will ask you more than 100% of remuneration the next time I visit. So, no, I'm just saying that is how we can kind of deal with
Yeah.
accountability. And I think it's high time that queer people start, creating, not rely on corporations, but create. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who are doing the similar kind of work with giant corporates does. I think it's really important for queer investors, queer business owners to look out for such kind of a talent and propagate or collaborate with them, so that we have our own system where we don't have to rely on another system to kind of do the talking.
So, let's talk about your big boss, Agni Pariksha journey. So drag, was often reduced to caricature or comic relief. So how intentional were you about, changing and shifting that lens, to bring dignity, depth, and education into mainstream entertainment? And, Big Boss is really mainstream. So tell me a little bit about that.
So to start with, I actually never thought I would kind of go into a popular show like that. And somewhere or the other way, I had a friend of mine who basically saw a kind of a post where they said they're looking for a few people who might apply for it. They call it commoners, who can kind of come and be a part of a prequel program. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the main one, but there's a prequel which they have done for the commoners. And I said, let me just give a try. I was sure that I might not be kind of going till the end, or at least till the first round in itself. So there were around I think 4 lakh people who have applied for, and then
Wow.
the kind of I was very specific about what I wanted. I wanted to be in drag. I want to talk about queerness. I want to talk about my life and how exactly it's happening. I want to represent. So that was the only point of view which I had, and I was very strong about it as well. So I went there. I gave the first round of the audition, and they kind of liked it. And then they asked us to kind of come to the televised round, which is from where the actual kind of things began. So I was completely dressed up. People didn't had idea of what exactly drag was until the time I showed up on the TV, especially in Telugu states. And once I started performing, I went there and I sang a song about what is LGBTQIA plus in Telugu. Like, if it's a same-sex person liking each other, it's called as homosexual. If two different sexes are attracted to each other, it's called a heterosexual, pansexual, etc. And then talking about what a drag is, like, I basically trying to comment on one of the judges, like, and this is my version of gender. So I think those are some of the beauty of it, when I was able to kind of represent. Having said that, what I realized also is, like, it's you it's very kind of tricky to look into what you kind of bring as an artist, especially from a marginalized space, when you are kind of competing with 10 or 15 other people who are coming from their own selves. At times, what the kind of reason why I was kind of rejected from the pre-show was that, oh, will you only be talking about LGBTQI plus? I was like, yeah, that is my life. That is how I have been living in. So if you don't want me to use the word, or don't want me to say that, okay, I'm a queer person, etc., um, I think that the purpose is not getting served. So I had that, point of view where I kind of was sent back. Having said that, what I was very happy was it stopped over there. Because and then I would have to lose around 3 to 4 months of my work as a artist, performing, and stay away from the family. But with that short period of access of space which I was kind of given, I was able to kind of reach or put drag into every household who are kind of watching it, or especially Telugu people. They would know the words like heterosexual, homosexual with this song. And there are a lot of people who kind of reached out after me, like, after the episode was kind of aired. People started saying that, this is the first time I'm seeing a queer person on a platform like that. And there are a lot of people who are asking questions about, okay, how do you kind of define difference between cross dressing and drag, etc. So those are all the things which opened up. And I think, space like that, where I was limitedly kind of visible as well, but it opened doors for my community kind of ask and seek questions. So I think that happened, and that is something which I cherish a lot. People still kind of see and understand. Yeah, I go to clubs, I go to nightlives in Hyderabad, where there are a lot of people who are community kind of comes together, and every time I walk out of that door, it's like, oh, I have seen you in Agni Pariksha. You did you represented us. So those are some of the things which I take it as very positive way of that experience. And will I again want to kind of go and do the show? That is a question which I would ponder upon.
Amazing. You are India's first drag queen parent. This is phenomenal. So, how do you prepare your child to live with both love and scrutiny? This is a tightrope to walk on, considering the society around us. Tell me a little bit about this, Patruni.
Yeah, I think God, or the Almighty, or whatever the being which is, running this particular world, is very smart enough, because they said, like, okay, you are putting, drag artist as not safe for children. Let me throw a kid into a household of a drag queen, and let me kind of make it visible for people, like how to kind of navigate the situation. So it was that timing of that, and also the time when I kind of came out as a dad. My kid was out. My partner was always constantly saying, this is our life, this is our story, and we will write it in our own ways. It's not, you don't have to fall upon, you don't have to think twice, oh, why am I doing drag, or why should you not do drag, the child would be effective, etc. I was having a lot of skepticism, a lot of thoughts about it, like, what if somebody bullies my kid because of what I do? And so those are some of the thought process which I was having, and I was very vocal with that with my partner, and we always kind of discuss. So once the child is out, once they are around 1 to 2 years, they have seen me in drag. I when I perform, I take my family with me to spaces, which are again community spaces, and times when I start singing or start performing, my kid was just stepping to the stage and take the entire limelight. So that has happened as well. They play with my wigs. My wigs are shattered, and they know every product of my makeup kit. So they are very enthusiastic around playing across
Oh,
things
adorable.
in the house. And one of the surprising part was when they started talking a little. They have seen a video of me. I show my content to my kid as well sometimes when we both are working, or a performance which I'm kind of doing, and they have seen a video of me where I'm saying my name, which is Sasuma, in on the picture. And then after that, while I was sleeping, and then my kid just walks to me like Sasuma, right on my ears. And I was shocked when they called me with my drag name. I was completely shocked. I was not expecting that. But I think um, kids see and reflect what happens around. They come with a lot of
Mhm.
empathy. They come with a lot of
Oh,
understanding.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I just think, I am fortunate for my kids that, they're able to. I don't want to hide anything. I don't want to say that, okay, this is something you should not see me, all that stuff, because this is my reality. And I just want to keep the book very open. If they
Mm.
have questions, they would be having questions as then when they grow. They'll come back to me and I would be more than happy to explain and have that conversation. So I try to keep the book open to my whole family, that this is how it is. You can always come back and forth, and I'll be more than happy to kind of answer. And yeah, I think, yeah, it's a very beautiful space to be a parent, and do what you want, and also
It
get
is.
the love.
I'm a mother, so I know exactly what you're saying. I think it's one of the most fulfilling, part of my life journey.
Yeah, the pain point is when they burn your wig.
So when you see young queer artists, in small towns exploring drag on social media or local festivals, what advice would you give them about staying authentic, to the craft, to the art, to their own truth?
Yeah, I think they have to do what they do. It's really important, because you can always have a thought of performing or accessing a queer space, or being an artist or a drag artist to kind of go as well. But it will not serve a purpose if you're just holding that thought and sitting. It's really important to kind of act up, and the act up might be the very smallest thing. Like, I've seen a lot of drag artists who kind of create their entire persona in between the four walls, and then putting it out. So it's really important to do that, and also understand that your art is your voice, or your if you have got a thought that I can do drag, or if you have got the thought that I can sing or dance, um, it's somewhere there's an indication that that is what the voice is. And as and when, if you nurture it, if you kind of you know propagate it, since as and when you are growing, you don't know how magical it can become. It can transform things not only for yourself, but also for people around you. There might be things which might not seem like working, at that point in time, for a lot of people. I've seen, I'm fortunate enough that I have a family. I have my parents who are supporting me since childhood, or when I started drag as well. I had an opportunity to kind of converse and talk. But I should also realize that this is not this ideal situation for a lot of
Yeah,
queer kids out there.
absolutely.
So it's really important. They take care of the safety. They take care of the cognitive idea of what might be the the goods as well as the bads. But always try to nurture that small, you know, light of art which is there inside, and not let it kind of go off, because that becomes the voice which can pull people from the dearest, from the deadliest things in life. I think that is something which one need to kind of totally think, and carry with themselves.
So if there's one piece that you could perform for the next generation, what message would it carry?
Oh yeah. That's a very good thing. I have performed pieces on, which is ranging to a lot of, situations, like, talking about mental health, talking about, the idea of safe sex, etc.
Mhm.
But I think one of the best pieces which I always kind of do is, taking the regional music and trying to create drag and propagating, because it gives a map of drag across the country. So I think that is one thing, and I also want to talk about stories which are real-time queer issues, which I can perform. I don't want to perform, stories which are again sad, because then my drag would be equivalent to Bollywood. Having said that, I want to instill that the small joy. So as of now, I don't have something in my mind to kind of acknowledge.
Maybe we can come back for part 2 with you, and
Yeah,
think about all of that. It's
but this is
been
a very
wonderful.
good thought.
Sorry, yeah, continue.
Yeah, I'm saying this is a very good thought. This helps me to create a new work of mine.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Patruni. I mean, this has been an honor for me to have you. So, just for our audiences, from barefoot performances to global platforms, Patruni Sastry reminds us that art can be protest, love can be radical, and drag can be divine. And as they say, life is drag, sass it up. And if this conversation has moved you, share it with someone who believes in the power of self-expression. Follow the Mohua Show on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review and help more listeners discover voices that challenge, heal, and inspire. I'm completely inspired with my guest, Patruni Sastry, and I'm sure all of you are also equally inspired and touched. Thank you, Patruni, for taking out the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.